Okay, so one of the things I usually do when I get a deck submission is I try to clean up the mana base, but these decks, the mana base is just such a like look at this is almost exactly the submitted mana base I have. So I'm kind of just mostly trusting that the numbers are right here. I'm interested to see if we're going to be able to cast our spells. I have added a couple of lands in total because I think the initial mana base I was given was a little bit land light, so I cut some of the acceleration the deck was playing and put in some more actual lands. So where are we at? We're playing 36 lands to start here in our 80 card deck, and especially when you have all of these lands that can cycle in a pinch, I think erring on the side of more lands is definitely better than erring on the side of less. For people not familiar, it's a deck based around Niv-Mizzet Reborn here. Powerful 5-drop that draws a bunch of double-colored cards out of the top 10 cards of your deck, or I guess more specifically puts them into your hand. This technically gets around Narset locking you out of drawing stuff. And there's just a bunch of good double-colored cards in this format, you know? Iteration, Kavu, Helix, Vanishing Verse. We got a couple of Ob Nixilis in here from the latest expansion in addition to some of the new Triomes or whatever you want to call them here. So let's go ahead and pop on into a few games with this and see how this feels in Historic this morning. Morning, Ginger. Looking at a number of other 5-color Niv deck lists, it looks like a lot of them shy away from playing Yorion. I'm interested to see if that feels like it adds value at any point to us, or if it's just kind of extra and unnecessary. Elwins, thank you for the 50 months. Welcome back. Fan2Max, thanks for the follow. Good morning. I mean, this casts are spells. Spells are okay. Thanks for sticking around for over 4 years, Elwins. It's been a trip to Hex and back. And I'm going to shock this in here to hold up the Dovin's veto. And I'm shocking because while we could play one of these untapped to hold up veto, I want to be able to Expressive Iteration next turn before I play my land drop. So we'll grab a Niv, and then obviously we'll grab a land since we can't cast the other spell this turn. Morning, too much dog. Okay, so we're gonna lose Deafening Clarion here, I imagine. I guess they could take Niv theoretically too, but imagine their creature deck cares about Clarion. A Speedwagon, thank you for the 7 months. Welcome back. I think we just go ahead and binding the Thalia's Lieutenant here. That's going to eventually be able to grow out of range of the Clarion. So red, white, blue, green, black. We can play Niv-Mizzet next turn potentially. We could also just threaten the Clarion though as well. Hey, Burger, thanks for sticking around for 2.5 years. Happy Sunday. Clarion is no longer an option this turn. We'll fish up a black source, it looks like I want. I have plenty of white, so I'll grab another Zagoth Triome. Get to draw 4 cards here. Need to discard 1. Dovin's Veto, probably not particularly useful in this matchup. Definitely want to keep my extra land. Yeah, Thorbin. I don't know. I think it's worth trying. I think everything, all of the decks that used to be playable in, all of the decks that used to be playable in Historic that have been pushed out as the format's gotten higher power level, are definitely worth revisiting in Explorer. Explorer's almost assuredly a lower power level than, almost assuredly a lower power level than Historic. Well, they didn't attack last turn, so I assume if we KO Adeline, they're not going to want to attack this turn. So we can actually go land, binding the Adeline, play a 5/5. I'll let them take your card. It's fine. Enjoy. I mean, I think Winota is plenty playable in Explorer. It just definitely doesn't feel like a this card's oppressive type situation. Oh man, we get to use Clarion's hidden mode here too. Now, at this point, we have all of our colors, and we have enough total lands in play that I'm actually going to grab a shock land rather than a Triome, because I'd like to be able to cycle a Triome if I draw it, most likely. We'll give our things lifelink here. We'll pay 2 for this. And then we'll get to... Oh, I guess I don't get to gain 11 on this attack, because this is indestructible. I only get to gain 6. Sedge. Only a 12-point swing instead of a 22-point swing. What a tilter. What's going on, James? Yeah, you've played a lot of this archetype, right? Do you have any opinions on... This is a viewer list I'm playing. Do you have any opinions on Yorion in this deck or versus not? Alright. Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are gone. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more. It's probably not a Scarab God, Teferi, or Colossal Skyturtle matchup. Man, my client is, like, really laggy this morning. You see that, like, delay as I try and drag things out? Like, click, and there's a thing. I'm not dropping any frames, right? No? I think it's just an arena thing. No encoding issues. Usually prefer drawing Niv-Mizzet at a higher rate. Yeah, it seems like a fair assessment. Second Helix, we take those. What's going on, Ted? We gotta deal with the Sentinel this turn. We're gonna have to let them draw a card, but it's gotta go. Huh? It's a tough choice. So, like, now do I... If I deal with the Adeline before she can make a token, I'm not going to be able to... they're going to end up drawing more cards. Definitely going to be a tough game on the draw here. So I'll get hit for 4 here. And then I need to Helix this before it gets larger. Alright, we will say go fish. We do not have a Clarion, which honestly is probably another knock against playing an 80 card deck. The odds of you having your Key Sweeper on curve and the aggro matchup is also much lower. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the new Capenna spells aren't particularly good in this archetype, right? Because Niv doesn't explicitly care about multicolor, he cares about 2-color stuff. A lot of the really good ones are. This is a great start for us. We just leave back Kavu on defense here. Vanishing Verse for sure. Nothing in my hand I really want to filter at the moment. Got a few different removal spells here. Wandering Mind threatens to trade cleanly with Elite Spellbinders, so we've got that unlock. Ooh, the Devotion has a nice new interface as well here. See 3 out of 7 highlighted on the Clothis here. Quality of life interface update. We're just passing and planning to use a removal spell this turn. Discard a card, take out your Thalia. And if we brick on the land next turn, we can go ahead and Binding. I want to get rid of Giant Killer. It can give them the ability to apply better pressure, especially in the air with Spellbinder. Tenacious Underdog's an interesting addition to humans. I'm gonna go ahead and just take this trade. So, World Tree's gonna turn on here at 6 lands, right? Yeah, this doesn't really matter what I get here. Hey, Mike, thanks for the third of the year. Welcome back. Appreciate the prime. Niv-Mizzet does not find 3-color cards. The people asking about the Naya Sweeper are just talking about that. The only 2-color pairs. A lot of people see 5-colored if they shortcut to O. This card's good with just multicolored cards, but only finds explicitly 2-color cards. Is a card from the Guilds of Ravnica series that cares about all those 2-color guild pairings. Let's banish him into the Aether here. Not only do we not put a lot of creatures in our graveyard for the new 2-color 1/3 Smith, but we also just wouldn't have creatures in our yard early for that, so it's not actually a 3-mana sweeper, right? Like, when we say 3-mana sweeper, we don't only mean the actual mana cost, we mean, is this a card that cleans the board out on the 3rd turn of the game? That card decidedly does not do that. Wow, really surprised they didn't pick Inquisitor Captain back up in response to me exiling it. I guess maybe they wanted a Giant Killer for a Niv-Mizzet, but like, Niv-Mizzet happening here is just gonna bury them one way or another. Like, sure, you're gonna Giant Killer my 6/6, but my 6/6 was a Muldrifter that already drew 3 cards. If you don't have the Niv player on the ropes when they resolve their Niv-Mizzet, the game is over. Pack it up, pack it in, let me begin. Yes, a Synthesizer is another good comparison like that. Synthesizer costs 1 mana, but it's not a card that you fill in on your curve on turn 1, right? Hey, I appreciate you taking the time to do that, Abzan Chance. Welcome back, and thanks for keeping me around. Yeah, I don't know that red cards are necessarily super castable. I've got some time wipes in the sideboard for additional sweepers for these creature matchups, but definitely slower than Clarion for sure. Man, it feels like my arena is like running in mud this morning. What's going on, Dylan? Thanks for the prime. Welcome back. Easy mulligan here, not only land heavy, but doesn't have all of our colors. If this hand had all 5 colors in it, I might keep this, but definitely a mulligan without. Yeah, this looks fine. Little land light, but our deck's got a lot of lands in it. We have a bunch of castable spells here. The suspend one, win the game text.div seems pretty good. Yeah. Pretty not bad. Well, so The Pioneer deck isn't really a good parallel for this deck in Historic currently, because the Pioneer deck gets to play 3 to 4 copies of Bring to Light, which allows them to play a number of utility cards that this build very notably does not get to play because you can't search up 1-ofs with it. Discard, break your Herald's Horn. Muxus. Muxus seems like a tough nut for us to crack yet. We have very, very little profitable interaction for that if they hit in anywhere. And any average Muxus probably puts us into concession territory. Okay. It's a great pickup here. So if they go land Muxus, we can Vanishing Verse the Muxus, then we can untap in Clarion. Yes, the Pioneer and Niv deck is also a little bit more controlling than this because you don't get to randomly kill people in Kavu. J Ruse, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel this morning. That's true. At some point in the not too distant future, we'll hopefully have Bring to Light on this platform. And this is the other challenge about Muxus chat. Like, their Muxus is drawing them to more Muxus here. So it's like, well, I'm exiling Muxus, which means I take 10. But I think this is the right play because if I leave the Muxus in play, it doesn't die to the Clarion. Now, they are at least 2 turns off of casting the next one, and maybe the next one won't be nearly as good, he said optimistically to himself. Alright, well, shoot. Well, again, if I hit the haste enabler, my health total is higher, but they keep a Muxus in play, and them keeping a Muxus in play means my life total is in more danger long term. Like I said, I'm not really sure that any of my decisions really mattered here. This definitely feels like one of your typical non-rotating format super polarized style matchups that are pretty typical in Magic the Gathering. Try this, bring in some extra spot removal. The real problem here is, as we just saw there with Muxus, spot removal is kind of mediocre, and they just reassemble well even through a sweeper. Alright, Territorial Kavu is low-key one of our best cards in this matchup because it gives us a tool for winning the game while we disrupt the opponent. A little awkward that this isn't Forest subtype though. Only a little baby 3/3 at the moment. Rough. Yeah, that being said, losing my first threat means that their board development's been really mediocre here. Okay, why do they have Fatal Push in post-board against me? I'm so confused. Like, the Abrade is one thing. The Abrade is one thing because, like, you know, maybe I have Grafdigger's Cage they want to get rid of, but Fatal Push is really strange.
Carnage. Tribute is owed.
Yeah, just supposed to make it Devil. Doming them for 2 doesn't really accomplish much here.
It's my entertainment.
Missing a blue mana, unfortunately. Cannot cast Niv. We'd have been able to cast Niv this turn, we would have been in a really good spot, but unfortunately just can't. We're supposed to shock and hold up Vanishing Verse. Ob Nixilis does not seem like a particularly good card in this deck, but the submitter included it, and I didn't want to cut the brand new card without playing games with it, so we'll see if it does anything, but we're pretty miserable at triggering the casualty in this deck, and the baseline 3-mana walker without casualty is just not particularly good. Alright, well we'll get rid of this, and then when we don't draw a sweeper next turn, we'll concede. Sorry, a castable sweeper, because there's technically time wipes in my deck I can't cast at the moment. Nailed it, never didn't have it. That being said, they still get to drain us for, what, 7 here? So actually, we're not even in that good of a spot with this Clarion off the top. Yeah, very angry mob on Twitter told me that Ob Nixilis is the next Oko and needs to be banned immediately. Oh, I've seen Ob Nixilis compared to Oko unironically many times in the last week. Many times. Yeah, I like Ob Nixilis' design a lot. Playable. I feel like one thing that they've done really well in a post-fire design world is we've gotten a lot of pretty playable Punisher cards, which for a long time was just considered something that was never squishy. With the 69-month resub, nice indeed. Welcome back. Thanks for hanging out. It's been a trip. Channel's gone through a lot of evolution in the last 69 months. Thanks for sticking through all of them. To Moto, to Hex, to Arena, to Runeterra, to all sorts of different wonderful variety things. Thanks for chilling for all of it. Alright, with this draw, I'm actually going to lead on this now. So if we need to Helix on 2, we can chuck this in. BJ Forget, thank you for the 28. Welcome back. Appreciate it. Probably just no WinCon, just Sky control over here. Yeah, but like, if your Ob Nixilis is casting off, if you have a 5-power Kavu, why would you want to turn that into another Ob Nixilis, right? Like, can't you just win the game with your 5-power Kavu? Like, can you explain to me why Ob Nixilis makes that better? Because it's like already pretty good on its own, right? They could be mutate turns, but that deck's not particularly popular, chat, and Magic players love playing no win con control. It's a sickness. They just can't help themselves. I think it's a mixture of people have forgotten how good Oko actually was, Duck Doolittle, as well as hyperbole is the hot thing to do, right? Like how many, I can't even count how many content creator videos I've had come across my newsfeed telling me they broke standard already, etc. And most of the videos claiming to have broken standard involve Ob Nixilis, so it's like, are the people really to blame, or are they just a byproduct of the content ecosystem in which they exist? Bonu, thank you for the tier 2, and thanks for hanging out for over 3 years. Welcome back. Look, chat, I played with Oko and still lost a bunch. It can't be that good of a card. That's fair. It's fair. So, to set a low bar, main deck Mystic Dispute isn't as unhealthy as something like main deck Aether Gust. Because, like, Mystic Dispute is castable against other colors of decks, right? Doing this during their upkeep because they likely have a counterspell and I want them to have to respend their mana on their turn, but I also don't want to give them the chance to draw a counterspell for the turn in case they don't actually have one yet. So we're going to lead on K-Command here with the Shock, and then we'll follow up with the Lightning Helix on the Teferi if the K-Command resolves. Yep. Oko also turned on your main deck Aether Gust because it made green Elks. That's true, actually. What about main deck Mental Misstep? Oh, R&D's mistakes.
Don't make another move.
You're not supposed to wait till 8 to play this, to play around Dispute. If this doesn't resolve, the game is likely over. So you're saying there's a chance. Take a chance on me. I would, in fact, like to draw these 5 cards. Your move, Yugi boy. I shocked in this land before I cast this because if we drew another Lightning Helix, I wanted to be able to cast Lightning Helix to finish off the Teferi. They scryed 2 cards to the top. Things that don't bode well for our hero. Yeah, we're just kind of in one of those spots where, like, we're far enough behind that we just kind of have to jam and hope something works out. And something worked out. That's nice. Biggest Maul Drifter ever, both in stat line and the number of cards it adds to your hand.
Every day. No one will put thoughtfulness before action.
No, Duck, I wanna play cards out of my hand before we try an Yorion. Wanna make sure when we draw we're not discarding good spells to hand size. Okay, so if they have a single white card in hand they're willing to pitch, they can exile Niv-Mizzet before it takes down Teferi. Binding is an excellent draw here. Is it possible to draw all 10 revealed cards with Niv? Yeah, in theory. There's 10 different 2-color combinations. You draw 1 card for each guild. Whoa, and they're holding up a counter spell here, actually. They have Rest in Peace in their deck? Oh, I guess it's game 1. Alright, they didn't take the bait yet. Unfortunate. So the follow, Pai Pai, good morning. Judah, welcome to the channel.
We need to move quickly.
Yeah, game 1, Rest in Peace. That one is a sign of maybe something's amiss here, for sure. Oof, face up Dovin's veto. Do they have an answer for the Kavu? He says his opponent reveals one. Is there an oppressive graveyard deck? Both Cat Oven and Phoenix utilize the graveyard as a resource.
Those who cannot perceive beyond the veil keep an open mind.
It's a shame we drew all these Deafening Clarions. Oh, sweet. Now we can veto their veto to make sure our spell resolves.
Reckless and ill-refined.
Veto is such a dumb card.
what?
Yep.
I'm not done.
This effect used to cost 3 mana. Used to not be blue-white. Is there another Archmage's Charm? Is that the third one? Sure is. Alright, we're gonna fight over Niv-Mizzet yet. Okay. Are we gonna slog through this, chat? It's starting to feel like we might slog through this. Niv resolving is a lot of gas.
Mind and body should move in unison. I have just the trick for this.
Hold that thought.
Well, I do need to answer the Teferi in the context that it's going to have its Unite move soon.
I'll have a better plan next time.
This was overwhelming.
this might actually be the take just because it's a threat. What are they holding veto for? Teferi, maybe? You know, they know about all these cards, chat. It really does, Violet. Yeah. Yeah, usually Teferi sits in play as long as it did there and you're just toasted. Yeah, we're ahead right now, which is strange. Impressive grind from our deck for sure. And library exile. I think we're just putting this in exile to get rid of it, basically, right? And Puppy, thanks for the 2 years. Welcome back. Good morning. Good morning.
I'm not afraid of any of you. Go sow some chaos. By coin or carnage, tribute is owed.
Is that Shark Typhoon turn? Because they didn't draw this. That feels like a Shark Typhoon turn. They have what? 11 mana? Only making a 4/4 deal. Okay. Hey, Suna, thanks for 30 months. Yeah, my plan is to do an Explorer deck every day moving forward. I'm gonna be shuffling the order I play the formats in, though. That way people that can only watch at certain times of day can catch different formats if they care about them. We're gonna do Explorer last today. Yes, and Deafening Clarion will KO both of these sharks thanks to our little devil here. Which is nice. Oh, I could also just consume all, right? This is better. They're never gonna not have this veto up, so I'm just gonna go ahead and jam into it and just get past it. I wonder if we can deck them, chat. They're down to 20 cards. How many win conditions do we think they have left? Well, that just exiled their graveyard if they have a commit to memory. Boo Shoes, thank you for the 31 months. Welcome back. Yeah, we're through 2 Teferis and 2 Shark Typhoons at this point. That's a bit 0. I want this to flip over. Could have another Shark Typhoon here. They drew their companion but didn't play it out. Got me. Alright, 18 cards remain, chat. Niv-Mizzet.
I'm gonna remake this town in my...
Sweep the leg. Time difference on the clock. They have 17 minutes. I have 25 minutes.
My revenge will be cruel and painful.
Yeah, exactly. Clarion is not getting better than what we just got out of it, so, you know, go. $15 cards left in their deck. 14 cards left in their deck. 13 cards left in their deck.
Go ahead. Plead.
You don't think they're playing slowly? I mean, like, they're down 7 minutes on clock. You could argue they're not playing slowly, but they're really playing slower than me. That's true of most people, I guess. They are definitely much faster than my average control opponent on Magic Arena. But that's also an incredibly low bar because people are glacial on this application because the clock timer is way too long. $12 cards. I mean, if they have a counter spell for this binding and I brick, they just top something. If they have an answer to this binding, this shark kills us pretty quickly, chat.
My empire crumbles.
If you show remorse, you know what?
Do I leave Teferi in play because it decks them? That's like, this is just like accelerating our win condition, right? Yeah, I'm killing the shark. I'll do it again, I swear. Teferi tucks himself. Yeah, but Teferi tucking himself doesn't win the game if they don't also have a Teferi emblem. Yeah, Teferi tucking himself is only a win condition in the event that you have an emblem. They have 10 cards in deck, and they probably know the contents of most of their deck at this point. Yeah. Sweet. All right. Winning game one here feels like a big deal. I think our deck definitely gets better post-board than theirs does. Especially that game where we drew so many Deafening Clarions. What do you think of this board plan? Do we want any of these cards up here over any of these? Maybe Consuming Right is better than Vanishing Verse, although this answers a resolved Shark Typhoon. You think I want more verses? Would I rather have a third verse or a second Rip Apart? Rip Apart flexes to hit their Teferis for damage. Maybe I don't want the 2 Yasharns. We'll put the other verse in. Let's do that. What do they have that Yasharn answers? It's a 4/4. it's a 4/4. And Jay, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel. I think Clothis is fine here just because it forces them to have an answer. I'm aware that I have kept a hand without a green source in it, chat, just so, for clarity's sake. I mean, Teferi Time Raveler's not gonna resolve in a million years. It'll soak the first counter spell, but it certainly isn't entering the battlefield. Gonna pass here. I don't want to, like, run Time Raveler into a counterspell and then have them untap and play Hero Dominaria. I mean, we're using Teferi as an anti-control card inside of our control deck. So, like, take that for what you will. Like, Teferi's always been played as a card for the control mirror. For the follow random mask. We've had a few new follows this morning. Welcome to the channel. If you're new, my name's Jeff Hoagland. I stream full-time here on Twitch. We play Magic the Gathering, Pokemon Unite, and a smattering of other variety games on occasion. As far as Magic goes, my main focus is constructed on Magic Arena. These days that means playing Historic, Explorer, Alchemy, and Standard. Usually I play 2 or 3 decks every single day when we're here live. I'm typically live Monday through Friday, but with new Capenna releasing, I've got a bunch of deck ideas I want to get through with various updates, so we're doing a little weekend stream. If you enjoy the vibes of the channel, be sure to check out my YouTube channel as well. Everything I stream gets cut up into deck segments and posted there. You'll find playlists on the front page for all those constructed formats to find things I've played most recently. Hey, Stillson, thanks for the prime. Welcome back. Good chance this just gets vetoed, but it is what it is.
Right on schedule.
Has it been that long since I subscribed to win the Hoaglandia Open? Need to play in one of those again. What's going on, Quarian? Thanks for the 10 months. The Hoaglandia Open series is on hiatus for the summer. Good chance we bring it back in the fall when life slows down a little bit, though. Second shark follow-up. Oh, I can Skyturtle this, right? To keep my Teferi alive? I wonder how many regulars I'm gonna trick into thinking it's Monday today by being alive. You're like the 3rd or 4th. Hey, Melivac, thanks for the 13 months. Welcome back. Wonder how many Helixes and stuff they have in their deck post board. It's like, a card like Helix isn't particularly great against my archetype, so they probably swapped it out for things like counterspells that Teferi turns off, which is great. I panicked thinking it was Monday because I've lost all sense of time since maternity started. Yeah, that'll definitely happen. Opponent now has less than 12 minutes on their clock. Start with D-Spark and see what they do.
Really should have seen that coming.
Foretold card, huh? They're not likely to have Doomscar in post-board. And we didn't see Behold Them. We didn't see any Foretell cards in that long game one. Yeah, could be Angels. Probably want to be conservative with this veto until we see what this is. We didn't see an extra turn spell game one either, though. Maybe I should have drawn this Yorion. Turn spells just, like, also aren't something you sideboard into, generally speaking. Okay, confirmed. Confirmed that. Opponent has decided this game is no longer worth their time. Can't say I disagree with them. You can find the metal token link here in chat, coolstuffinc.com/metal. Sales for those will close tonight at midnight, and we'll get the orders shipped off and get them all made up. Every token will have a unique identifier for the serial number on the back. Once we find out how many they are, they'll all say one of however many exist, two of, etc. Sprite Dragon. On the draw, it might be difficult to take care of this before it grows out of Clarion range is a concern. See how many instant sorceries they have here. We would have decked them even without Yorion in that first game, because they were drawing so many cards. Our Metal Hoglandia tokens are actually unique, unlike NFT's, chat. Yeah, this was a concern. Being on the play is pretty good in Magic, chat. Someone write that down. I did finish Line Goes Up. It was excellent start to finish. You find this matchup to be pretty close to unwinnable. That would explain why this archetype's not particularly popular. We're definitely dead to the Sprite Dragon. Their threats just hit on so many axes, right? Like, it seems like it's difficult to be able to cleanly keep up with all of them. Fracture's not very good. Countering their spells isn't the angle we want to be fighting on, I don't think. I think any of these other cards seem very good. They're gonna have things like Mystic Dispute post boards. These more expensive blue spells are a bit of a liability. What is Line Goes Up? Line Goes Up is a 2-hour documentary video on YouTube that does a deep dive into explaining all of the issues with NFTs. And as someone who's been vehemently against that space for a long time, having a pretty basic understanding of it, good God, did I learn a lot about how idiotic and silly these things are and how much of a grift they are. Really highly recommend it. Just search Line Goes Up on YouTube. You also like the cryptocurrency portion at the start. Yeah, he did it. He did a good explaining of so I was very young during 2008 when that market crash happened, and I wasn't familiar with all of the reasons that the market crashed then. And he explained part of that at the start of the video too, which was great. My takeaway was, no matter how bad you think NFTs are in theory, they're actually much worse in practice. I think the biggest mind-blowing thing to me, Tim Louie, is I had made the assumption that at a minimum, an NFT object actually contained the image itself. When I learned that the NFT object just has a reference pointer to an image file hosted on a web server, I actually lost my shit a little bit. Because I was like, what is the actual, they're actually just receipts. They're not actually an object. Yeah, I knew they were stupid, but I didn't realize they were like that stupid. I thought there was like something at least. All right. With that, we're gonna move on from talking about cryptos and NFTs. I don't want to get bogged down in it. We can laugh and chuckle about it for a long time, but the documentary is good. For the stream stuff, we're gonna move along now. All right, we've answered their first 2 threats cleanly, and I have answers rolled up to some follow-up threats here, he says, before his opponent plays a Crackling Drake. Now, oh, someone said the Delirium cards, they were surprised they used the new interface. They do use the new interface. And that's so super clean. Love it. Really great quality of life improvement, adding that to various cards. Hats off to the Arena team for coming up with that clean implementation. Leo Souza, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel. And this is kind of the challenge of this matchup is like, look at how many cards they've churned through, right, chat? Like, they've seen 25 cards this game, and I've seen 11? Quick math? 11? Yeah. I've seen over twice as many cards in their deck as I have, so, like, I'm answering their threats slowly here, but they're just gonna keep churning and finding more of them faster than I'm gonna find answers, most likely. I mean, Klothys doesn't really grind in this matchup is actually part of the problem. So, like, it's a little bit disruptive, but the Phoenix deck is, like, super capable of hitting for very large chunks of damage. So, buffering your life total a small amount with a card like Klothys often does not have a meaningful impact on the outcome of the game. This is not a small edges matchup. Their threats stay in play, they kill you in chunks. Really heads up play from the opponent here, using their unholy heat to trigger prowess to keep their storming entity alive. And then here, right, there's another incredible piece of grind. So I'm out of gas at this point, and the Phoenix deck just has 3 Faithless Lootings, 3 cards in hand, a threat, a creature land, and an Ox of Agnos. I agree with Braveheart Lion's assessment that matchup seems pretty hopeless. Honestly, that's probably a matchup where being a Yorion deck makes it even more hopeless for us. We really needed a way to catch back up in terms of card advantage that game. And our inability to draw a Niv-Mizzet was a big part of that. That's also true. The few cards we bring in out of our sideboard for any given matchup, we're also going to have less of an impact when we are a Yorion deck. So that's a very real cost as well. Dude, Light. Thanks for hanging out for almost 3.5 years. Welcome back. I agree with that. I mean, I've talked at length a number of times before where I think control decks should never be tier 1 in Magic. I think they should be fringe playable, and it's neat when the archetype can exist, but I agree that a deck like this being tier 1 tends to generate mediocre matches. Steam Vents Luris. Alright, you have my attention, opponent. I'm listening. Could be some kind of featherless feather deck. Hope you feel better soon, Exit Sad. Alright, land to cast it and Lightning Helix, please. And Library Exile. Scale of 1 to dead, what are we working with here? How dead am I? Could be pretty dead, chat. Could be pretty dead. Yikes. Yep. Yeah, they could be a blue-red deck splashing Luris, for sure. Would you say that was an intense game of Magic the Gathering, chat? That'd be an apt description. This is a veto out matchup. I don't need the grind from K Command. I'll leave a couple of vetoes in to be able to protect our life total in the mid to late game. We stabilize the board. I did not see the Dragonstorm deck, Corian. I also kind of like reset all of the deck lists that I've looked at in a way when a new set drops. There's new cards to poke at. Usually it takes me a week or two before I'll go back and look at older results for stuff to start updating. There's enough brand new things to poke at. Oh, I should have boarded out Despark against their Luris deck, chat. Mistakes were made. Fracture might be a blink, too. Definitely some awkward one-ofs in here. Gotta remember to keep track of them for different matchups. Goodbye, friends. We played something similar to this Jeskai deck, but without the Luris splash. Really neat to see some of the alchemy buffs and Symmetry Sage having a positive impact in Historic. So the 51 months, B-Mac, welcome back. Happy Sunday, hope your weekend's going well. Weird decision to play this before. Fair. Jelly Bean! That's super generous of you. Happy Sunday. Thanks for the sub gift. This out. Are we cycling this tower? If they don't give us something to veto, it might be a cycle tower angle. Actually don't have an answer rolled up to this Luris yet, which is problematic. Yeah, Duck Doodle. I think all of Zera's moves should be pulled down a level still. The discharge buff was pretty minimal overall. Razor Claw, weakness policy, focus band patches. I think I just need to cycle this. This is a pretty big miss sideboard. This should just be any other Magic the Gathering card here in my 95. Fracture too, honestly. We're kind of down 2 cards because of poor sideboarding choices. Yes, it does, Duck Doolittle. So ideally, you try and, like, stomp and then hit an auto and then stomp again when you get the reset. Yeah, like... This is a tough spot. Like, I can Vanishing Verse this theoretically, but they just have, like, endless cards to replay from their bin, so without a sweeper here, we're just in a lot of trouble. Yorion definitely has not felt particularly useful in these games. Definitely wish I just had a little bit more consistency in my deck to draw my Nivs more frequently. I keep finding myself wanting to draw my 4-ofs, and, like, getting these 1-ofs, like, aren't super useful, and, like, the Yorion just being, like, an 8-mana 4/5 that's not particularly exciting. Yeah, Wellspring is usually what people play. I think there's a good reason for that. Hey, D20 Bandit. Thanks for the 4 years. Welcome back. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, I'd be fine with that, Xanthias. You want to tip the scales for some Angel sooner? There is a 3-tier castle, and then I believe the 4-year is D20's bandits there. Oh, we'll tip those skills. That's super generous, Cynthias. If there's any other decks you'd like to see played later on, other than Angels, be sure to let me know too, but we can definitely make Angels happen today. Happy Sunday. Alright, yeah. I think I'm gonna shelve this one. So, one of the things I always recommend to people do when they're gonna work on deck lists like this is it definitely feels like the submitter of this deck tried to reinvent the wheel a little bit, and they made a lot of choices that I wanted to play games with to see if any of them felt exceptionally good. But I think in general, a lot of the changes here seem like they're just kind of worse than the established 5-color Niv deck that exists in the format. And while 5-color Niv isn't like a top tier deck, it's definitely one that's well established in the format. And I think checking out the existing Wellspring versions and then updating the mana base a little bit with some of these new Triome cards, probably pretty reasonable. Ob Nixilis in particular definitely didn't feel like it was worth its slot in here. While you could occasionally use Territorial Kavu in general, I'd rather just have a 5/5 than another Ob Nixilis in this deck. And the other modes on this aren't particularly good. The +1 on Ob Nixilis really shines its brightest in a more aggressively slanted shell, and we are decidedly not an aggressive deck. So, Yeah, I think this build overall felt like a little medium to me, and I would definitely rather just focus on the more established builds of the archetype that have existed in the format for a little while.